And yeah, all of our stuff tonight is compliments of Russell Waters and AMSOIL.
All of it?
Yeah.
Even the hat?
Yeah, he sent me a beautiful box of stuff this week.
Okay.
With some new products that I'll be talking about, as well as the stuff that we're going to be giving away.
Okay. So we got hat giveaway, and we got.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we go on. But you've got the stuff right there.
I do. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And you've got your announcements for tonight.
I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. It's
going live.
It's 5 up.
I'm Dave Arnold. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate. We'll be right back.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abbate. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A Live. It certainly is good to be back here. Then again, it's good to be anywhere, really. Susie, how you doing over there? Good?
I'm great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. You've got some new stuff that you're giving away tonight for actually all the things that you're giving away are from AMSOIL or Russell. So why don't you maybe you could tell us a little bit about what's going on there and what you're giving away.
Well, I got this crazy looking hat.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking hat.
It's a really cool looking hat.
Yeah.
Bell helmets.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some oil.
Yeah, that's actually STP oil treatment.
Right.
But go ahead.
And I have a couple of great stickers.
Mm-hmm.
Compliments of AMSOIL Russell Waters. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, thank you, sweetheart. And I wanted to mention this. This is something new that Russell Waters is now a distributor for. Okay, he's got this. He's got Lucas Oil, AMSOIL, of course, the best, and he will soon have Castrol R from the UK. Remember that smell of Castrol?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. STP oil treatment. You know how long this stuff has been around? Remember when you were a kid, you watched the Indianapolis 500? You talk about Andy Granatelli and the STP turbine car?
Wow.
It's like 50 years ago, like 5 decades, maybe more. They're still making it. And for a product to be on the market for over 55 years, I have to think it works. So as Susie said, we're giving away that. It is an oil treatment. It's not oil. We've got some stickers too from Russell Waters, the hat. And I just want to thank AMSOIL. I've got their shirt on tonight. Been a big supporter of the show for a very, very long time now. Thank you, Russell Waters and AMSOIL. In the meantime, I do have to thank the sponsors of the show, everybody that makes this possible, including Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, SoCal Mako, Arma, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, and, as I just mentioned, AMSOIL. If you want to become a sponsor of the show, I would appreciate it very, very much. There's going to be some changes going on for the new year. I will tell you about them in the coming weeks. But the price will be an incredibly inexpensive $249.95 for anybody who wants to be a sponsor of the show. And, of course, if you just want to be a show supporter and you want to have your name up on the board like it is there behind Susie, I'll put her back up there for a second. Where are you, Suze?
I'm right
there.
Here.
You are. Like Achilles Crackers or Tyler McGregor, any of those wonderful people who continuously sponsor the show, you can do that for just $49.95. $49.95 looks just like that, and you get your name up there for 90 days. You get yourself a T-shirt, and you get yourself an apron too. And I was just reprimanded before the show began with Susie telling me, stop giving away aprons and shirts. Well, it's been 39 years, and I haven't listened to her yet. So Shirts and aprons for 49 bucks and a poster. We'll continue on, Suze.
No, come on.
No, I'm giving them away.
No.
Don't forget, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, keep sharing the show. We'd love to have more people join us each and every week. And the next time, try this segment tonight. It's brought to you by ARMA. That's arma.org. Of course, one of the first organizations to really get vintage motocross back on the map, the people at ARMA. And I want to thank them for being a sponsor of the show. Tonight's Next Time Try This is a little long. In fact, it's 20 minutes long. It's from Roy Vanderveer, and it's about resistor plug caps, regular plug caps, ohms, some really, really intricate things. Now, I'm going to let it run for 5 or 6 minutes. You're going to become very interested, I'm sure, but we got so much other business to cover, I won't be able to dedicate the whole show to that. You'll see it for 5 or 6 minutes, and then I will post the video in its entirety on Vintage Motocross Q&A, and you'll be able to watch it all at your leisure, okay? Let's see what Roy has to say about this.
Hello everybody, I'm Roy Vanderveer and welcome to my two-stroke pro shop. And tonight we're going to talk about spark plugs, resistors, and resistor caps. And we're going to take a deep dive in and see why there are resistors in some of these plugs, why they are not in other plugs, and what you need to do to make sure your bike's got everything set up to run as well as it possibly can. So here we go. I'll start with this. I overheard a couple friends of mine talking about, why in the heck do I have to run a resistor and a spark plug? Where's this come from? What's it all about? So let's start with just answering that simple question. Why is there a resistor in my plug? Or in my plug cap? Or both? And it goes back to EMI, which is electromagnetic interference. When you produce voltage, especially high amounts of voltage in a very concentrated area, this can produce electromagnetic interference on the components that are near it. It started probably in the 50s or 60s because if you wanted to have an AM radio in your car, the EMI produced by the car engine would cause static on the radio. So that is where resistors started. It was so you would have good reception on your AM radio. Then, because we are our own worst enemy, dirt bikes started to get really fancy, and they'd have a lot of electronic components on them that were also sensitive to EMIs, such as CDI units and other controllers on the bikes. So then all of a sudden, we got to run a resistor cap. Usually it would be a resistor cap, which this is a resistor cap. This is a resistor cap. And normally if you look on the cap, it says right there 5,000 ohms, 5K ohms. So that's pretty standard on any of the bikes built probably after 1980 or so with electronic ignitions. So there you have it. That's why there's a resistor in your cap or in your plug. Do resistors ever go bad? You bet they do. Just like everything else on your bike, it all goes bad. And will it make your bike hard to start or not run at all? Absolutely. So it's a real good thing to have in your pocket to know how to test this stuff. So, and I'll talk about a couple of absolutes because I love absolutes. If you have a points ignition, there should be no resistor in the system anywhere. It would be real easy to pick up a resistor cap, put it on your points bike, and truthfully, it may work or it may cause problems because every bike's electrical system is a little different. And of course, every brand, every model, they're a little different. But if you've got a bike with points and you don't know the answer, it would be worth it to go back and make sure you don't have a resistor plug or a resistor cap hanging off the end of your ignition coil. Then, if you have an aftermarket ignition, such as PVL or HPI, they clearly state no resistors in anything. And they also specify that you run either an EG plug or an EV plug. And we're going to have a spark plug shootout coming up here soon. So we'll get to look at which one of these gives you the best bang for your buck. Okay, so then always check your manual. It's the most valuable tool that you can get for your bike is the service manual or owner's service manual, depending on what bike you have. Race bikes usually came with owner's service manuals, which covers everything. Now, when should you take the time to take a really close look at this stuff? Obviously, if your bike runs fine, don't worry about it. Go ahead, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. But if you have a bike that's hard to start, or it takes a lot of kicks to start, or it is an inconsistent starter, or it's hard to start when it's hot, it would be a really good time to run through these drills and see.
Okay, here's what I want to do. This is a really interesting topic, and I really don't want to stop, excuse the pun, the continuity of the video. I want to show it on the show in its entirety. So here's what I'm going to do. That was 5 minutes of it. It's like 20 minutes long. I'm going to go on with the rest of the show. 15, 20 minutes from now, I'm going to come back with another 5 minutes from right. Okay? Let's get on to the Moto Showcase. The Moto Showcase is brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Be sure to visit them online at PrestonPettyProducts.com. And this week's Moto Showcase bike is sent to us by Adam Brandt. That's Adam Brandt. Adam, thank you for sending in your bike. And it's been a couple of weeks that since you've sent it in, but we've had a Terry Good episode, and we've had something called Thanksgiving, and we've had a few of those things. So in the meantime, we haven't been able to have the bike on the show. But right now, Adam Brandt, I bought this bike back in May. I've always admired the Can-Am, and honestly, haven't ridden a motocross bike since probably the mid-1980s. I enjoy bringing something back to life, and I thought it would definitely be worth it. And here you can see the bike when Adam actually bought it, and it does look pretty rough. In my day, bikes were either yellow or the first brand new Yamaha 100 and Yamaha MXs. Then they went on to Suzuki's and RMs, and it just seemed like everything was yellow at that time. Best times in my youth were on those bikes. I've always loved the old bikes, and have something like this is really special to me. I must say, though, it's not the easiest bike to find parts for or to work on, and it's definitely different from our yellow Asian bikes. Thanks to Vintage Roost in Alberta, Canada, and their knowledge of Can-Am and parts, they helped me along the way, and they helped me find some individual sites as well. The bike was in pretty rough shape. The piston was seized, luckily, because whoever had it before me really did a bad job of turning wrenches on it. And here's some other views here of what this bike actually looked like when Adam got it. The bike was missing a kicker. Unfortunately, I found that for whatever reason, the gears in the cases that make it work were gone as well. I'm still fixing that part of the problem and waiting on parts from Canada, and that's a whole other story at this point. But I have time, and when I do get it going, it'll be the biggest CC bike I've ever owned, and from what I understand, the most horsepower as well for motocross bike back then. You will not find a bike, Adam, with more torque than a Can-Am. The thing just from the bottom right up to the top is an absolute torque monster, and where other guys are going down, maybe dropping down to third gear or some huge hills that you might find back east. They might even get into second gear at the bottom of the hill on the turn and really not get up to third. You'll be climbing up that hill in third gear. That bike will be looking for more, and you'll get into fourth. I can tell you, because I owned one, and it is just one of the torquiest bikes you'll ever ride in your life. All right. It'll be the biggest CC bike he's ever ridden. Yeah, on the other hand, I might be better off with the bike not running at all. I don't know about that. When you ride this thing, you're going to absolutely fall in love with it. Now, I believe this is probably only a handful of these bikes left just because of the low production numbers for the 400s, and having the upgraded suspension is probably best for me at this point. The bike is pretty much original except for the kicker, the Preston Petty front fender, the plate, a couple of air boots for the carburetor, decals, new seat cover that I replaced. I hope to give somebody some inspiration after you're thinking about giving this bike a go. I love seeing the projects and others working on them as well. Joe, thank you for the opportunity to have my bike on your show. It's definitely been a pleasure. Adam, thank you for sending in the bike. And it's very inspirational, and it makes me think of some of the greatest times in my life where I finally got some of the bikes that I always wanted, able to get them in my shop, take them apart, rebuild them, restore them, race them. And a Can-Am MX6 400, man, that is one badass bike. All right. Thanks again, Adam, for sending it in. Now, Adam mentioned Preston Petty fenders on this bike, which it does have. Does anybody know what this is? Does anybody know what this is? Yes, I know. They're crates sitting in the warehouse. You know what those are? Those are the molds for Preston Petty products. Paul has them back from Italy. They are on U.S. soil where they belong. Your fenders will be made in America, boys, the way your Uncle Preston Petty, may he rest in peace, always wanted it. Support Preston Petty products. Get a hold of Paul Stannard. He's got the molds. They might even be set up by now. I don't really know. I can't tell you this without getting too far into detail. Paul paid an extremely heavy price to have these molds made, to have them over in Italy where they were making the fenders. There was a lot of back and forth on who was getting what. And it wasn't, I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. There's just a communication thing. Distributors, people selling stuff on eBay. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Get it directly from Paul Stannard at PrestonPettyProducts.com. Okay? I want to thank Gary Quartz from SoCal Mako for being a sponsor of the show. Be sure to visit them online at SoCalMako.com. He's also on Instagram. And if you really are old-fashioned and you want to call him on the phone or maybe send him a letter, drop into the shop, there's the address right there. Okay? They're right down there in Ventura, California. What else we got coming up right now? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a little break right here. And then we're going to be back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A. All right, we'll be right back. Oh, when we come back, we'll do the, you know what? When we come back, I'm going to put the Roy video back on. You guys like that, right? God said, let there be light, and there was light. Preston Petty said, let there be light, and he gave you this, 1,200 lumens with a rechargeable battery on the back. Hook it up to your bike. No wires, no fuss, no muss. Get over to PrestonPettyProducts.com today. Thanks, Paul Stannard. Boy, how I wish I weighed 175 pounds again. All right, here we go. Susie, you were looking at the camera like something was wrong. Is everything okay?
No, I thought you were going to run a commercial. I mean, yeah. And then I saw Roy, and then I saw the commercial. I got a little confused. It's all good.
Yeah, we're going to put Roy back on right now for another couple of minutes. Everybody down with that? All right, here we go.
So remember that ohms go up with heat, and the larger the displacement of your bike is, such as a 500 or a 250 that's pushing a lot of compression, the more this matters, because that Kickstarter, when you kick it, it pretty much gives the crankshaft one rotation. So you need to get the dynamo, the magneto, spinning fast enough to generate enough energy to the coil to throw a spark across the gap. If you're kicking it and kicking it and kicking it, and it doesn't even sound like it wants to start, it might be because you're simply not getting a spark. So this is where the next section that we're going to go into is going to be real valuable. And we're going to test all these parts, and we're having a shootout. To follow up on why a resistor is in these components, I want to go back to the very beginning and discuss what a resistor does. This is different than why is a resistor there. What a resistor does is a resistor limits and regulates the flow of current in an electrical circuit, which in turn affects the voltage across it. Specifically, it divides voltage according to Ohm's law, where the voltage across a resistor is proportional to the current flowing through it and its resistance. This means as the resistance increases, the voltage drops across the resistor, thereby controlling the voltage available to all components in the circuit. Herein lies why if you've got too much resistance, you're not going to be able to get a spark to fire at the plug. So here we go. Let's look at spark plug caps first. I've got some here in various colors and styles and types. And what we're going to do is look at how much resistance these give us. And we'll compare, for example, this to that. And all we need to do is let's put one probe in this end and the other up here. And if you can read my ohm meter, we're set at 20,000 ohms, and that says 4.70. That's 4,700 ohms. And if your system calls for a 5,000 ohm cap, that is well within spec. Okay, so this is a little NGK cap. I love these, but honestly, I had this one on one of my bikes that has points because I like the style so much. I just threw it on there. It was a mistake, so I took it off. The bike ran fine, but it's not supposed to have any resistance in that circuit. So what do we do if you like this style, but you need something that's a non-resistor? So they sell non-resistor caps. I overheard my friends talking about this very cap here. This one's typically red. It utilizes the wire nut on the end, whereas some plugs just go right on the threads like this one. I should say some caps just go right on like that. Either one's fine. There's a tiny argument that this style might be a tiny bit better because this cap costs you about 2 ohms to flow current through it. Now 2 ohms is a tiny number. This cap is 5,000 ohms. That's a significant number. This is insignificant. But you got an old bike with an old ignition that's having trouble getting a spark across the gap. Sometimes you got to, go after every possible resource you can. So let's take a look at how many ohms we get with this one. And we're set at 20,000 ohms on our meter, but we need to drop that down to 200 ohms because I know this is going to be a very small number if I can make contact here. So we're looking at 0.4 ohms for this cap. This is another resistor-free cap. And this one comes in at 0.8 ohms. Either one, very, very good. We get down to 0.5, half of an ohm. That's just not a big number. It should, in other words, whether it has 0.6 ohms, 7 ohms, 10 ohms, it's not enough to cause much of anything. 6 ohms, 7 ohms, 10 ohms, it's not enough to cause.
All right, we are going to get back with Roy and his segment on ohms and resistor caps, but I hope you're enjoying that. I just can't take up the whole show with it, but it was very, very interesting. I did want to share it with you, and we'll still put it on the page tomorrow so you'll be able to see it in its entirety. I was going to wait a week or so to make this announcement, but I think it's a good time to do it now because it's something that you should have in mind. After over 5 years, Motion Pro will not be a sponsor coming up on the first of the year. They were one of our first, and they were just absolutely phenomenal with not only paying us a very nice amount every month, but also supplying us with tools and doing so much more. It's hard to see a race anywhere where you don't see the Motion Pro banner flying, but everything has just so much of a shelf life, or it has just so much time that it goes, and sometimes things come to an end. And as of January 1st, that will be it for Motion Pro. In the meantime, you know what you can do? You can still go over to motionpro.com and you get 20% off everything. Now's the time to get it all. Go over to Motion Pro, use the promo code MP9135. That's MP9135. If I had 7 million people watching the show, you could all go there, buy something, and then Motion Pro would stay on as a sponsor. But we don't have that many. So All right. But thank you, Chris Carter and everyone at Motion Pro. And we're still going to be doing some Here's the Problem things over the next month or so. But I did want to get that information out to you. And, so you can get over there and still save 20% across the board over the next, whatever it is, 27 days, 28 days. Dave Boynton, AMS Racing, big supporter of the show. Also, a great guy to watch videos of all his really cool stuff online, whether he's out at an auction or he's at a swap meet or just going around the yard looking at his bikes. Be sure to follow Dave Boynton on his personal page. Or if you need some really cool parts and you can't find them, go over to amsracing.com. In the meantime, what do we have? We have Dave's Classic Corner. There's a little segment we put together for Dave to showcase some of his bikes and for you to see some of the really cool stuff that Dave has. And tonight we've got something that's really going to take you back to your childhood. All right? Check this out.
Good afternoon, everybody. Another beautiful day out here in Phoenix. I think it's going to be about 90, and it's supposed to rain for 4 more days. We'll see. I'm showing you today Bonanza with the 5 horsepower. This is a 1200, I believe. So it has a jack shaft, chrome fenders, rear suspension. It's a Tecumseh motor, a 5 horsepower. Has the larger diameter wheels and tires, and it is definitely painted the right color. Beautiful. Haven't made it run today. I put fuel line on it, throttle cable, rear brake cable. Made all the connections work. It's my first mini bike with the 2 horsepower, I think 2.5 horsepower motor, I think was in mine. Just found that little chain guard for it, which isn't correct for the bike, but it's correct for the period for sure. They had their own steel stamping, broke the brackets almost immediately and fell off. You were out there riding, you didn't have time. See, then you have a ball end lever yet, and no adjuster on the lever either. Stock General tires, front and rear, correct. Foot pegs aren't bent in any way. That's a good sign they haven't ran it straight into something. But there's a Bonanza 1200. It would be according to around a 1967. Clean as a whistle. My allergies are back and everything's blooming. Yeah. Have a great day, everybody. Like and share, please. Thank you.
Dave Boynton. Really great little mini bike that he showed us there. And that was from back during allergy season. But Dave been sending us some really great bikes along the way, and he's going to continue to do so, I believe. So be sure to follow him online at on his personal page, Dave Boynton. What am I doing here? I'm removing this from the studio, and we've got, you know what I want to mention? Susie doesn't want me to tell you about this because she gets all bent out of shape. $49.95 gets your name up on the board for 90 days. It also gets you a T-shirt in any color or style that you want. That's the one with the really cool tune on it. All right, we've got the one with the cartoon. We've got a yellow one. We've got a gray one, black. The white one, not too many of us want to wear white anymore. All right, but the Kurt Evans cartoon, always a big fan. Always a big hit with everybody, that cartoon shirt. So you're going to get a shirt. You're going to get a poster, which there are very few left in the world. And you're going to get an apron, all for $49.95. You can pay me through PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Okay? So keep that in mind. We could certainly use your help. And yeah, you're going to get some really useful stuff. Poster and apron and a shirt. What's it worth, segment? What's that, Sue?
I said I can hear you.
Oh, she can hear me. She's in the kitchen, but she can hear me.
I can hear you.
What's it worth is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. Thank you, Tom McAllister. You are our longest running sponsor and one heck of a guy. Get all your wheels, spokes, nipples, truing, lacing, any wheel problem that you might have. Be sure to visit Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. Tonight's bike is a 1974 CZ 250. This is, of course, the portion of the program where you need to guess how much this bike recently sold for. And Susie is going to give you, are you giving a shirt or are you giving a hat for the, what's it worth?
For what's it worth? I'm giving neither of that. I'm giving stickers and the oil.
Then what are you giving for viewer appreciation? The
I'm
hat?
giving a hat.
Okay, so this is for the
The-
STP oil treatment
right.
and the stickers.
Right.
All right, not a bad deal. Here we go. 1974 CZ250 was purchased new by the seller's father for then 15-year-old seller from Bill Thomas Motorcycles in Denver, Colorado. That was in May 1974. Powered by a 246cc two-stroke single that was overhauled in 2025, with the work involved honing of the cylinder, replacing of the piston and rings, case seals, installing an electric ignition module. Additional work during the same time frame included changing the fork oil and replacing the hand grips, brake and clutch levers, drive chain, and tires. The bike features a silver finished coffin-style aluminum tank mounted over a red half-duplex cradle frame, and modifications that include a porcupine cylinder head, a 34-millimeter Mikuni carburetor, a Preston Petty mutter fender, and lay-down gas gurling shocks. A lot of these modifications that are on this bike were happening through dealers in 75 and 76, and you also had some of your aftermarket companies, whether it was Mid-Valley, a couple of other ones down there in Southern California, were making these modifications. Anyway, it's got a 5-speed gearbox, along with a black vinyl seat, chrome cross-braced handlebars, magnesium brake hubs, and Acron alloy rims. The 250 MX is now offered at no reserve in Texas for off-road use only. It has a service manual, the case splitting and clutch removal tools, and adjustable frame stand. The original manufacturer's certificate of origin comes with the bike. And there's the pipe. That is a stock CZ. Well, yeah, it's a stock CZ250 pipe. It's not the Falta pipe, which is like impossible to find. 2.5-gallon coffin-style fuel tank is finished in a silver over black knee pads. CZ badging, knee grips. CZ badging, checkerboard stripe down the center. It's mounted over that red frame. Additional equipment include a Preston Petty plastic fender, a steel rear fender. White plastic number plates are fitted up front and on the sides, and the latter one, which has been cut to accommodate the relocated top shock mount. And if you look close on this one, some of your real CZ guru guys like CZ Guy Lee or Dave Boyden, I think this is definitely a factory or a well-known, well-versed in CZ aftermarket supplier. Okay, got a nice shot of the engine right here. And, they talked before about the MSO, the manufacturer's statement of origin. There it is from 1974. This is a one-owner bike. A one-owner bike from 1974. There it is. Got some 75, 76 mods on it. I can't tell you any more about that. What do you think this bike recently sold for? $2,000? $3,000. It's a one-owner bike with factory mods. You think Falta rode it himself back in Checo. It was his practice bike. You think the bike went for $12,000? How much did it go for? $2,650 plus a 10% buyer premium that adds another $260 to it. Gives us what? $2,850 plus 60 is $2,900. I'll tell you what. Who gave me a guess under 3,000? Anybody under 3,000? McCook, 3,900. You're out. Bap. Johnny Nostro, 3,250. You're out. Lots, 4,400. No.
Alan Huey.
Alan Huey.
$29.85.
You're on the money, Alan. Alan Huey. Susie, what are you giving away?
Oil, treatment, and stickers.
Alan Huey.
You got it, Alan.
You're getting this, Alan. STP oil treatment. All right. And you're going to get these AMSOIL privateer stickers.
Mm-hmm.
This way you can look like a professional privateer. And the STP.
Yeah.
Remember STP stickers when you were a kid? You go down to the auto parts store and get them. We used to do that back in Jersey. Stick them on the seat of our bikes. Remember that? No? No. Too bad. What do we got coming up next? You know what I want to do? I want to take a commercial break, even though, I need a break. So we're going to hear from the International Motocross Museum. Oh, no. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take a break. We're going to hear from the wheel guy.
Vanderveer.
Full circle.
Oh, I thought you were going to do Vanderveer's part 3.
I'm going to go back to Roy Vanderveer's video, part 3.
Part 3.
When we come back from the Full Circle commercial featuring the incomparable Jerry Maddox.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McCallister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McCallister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McCallister at Full Circle Racing today.
All right, we are back live at Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we're going to get back to Roy's video on his 21,000 gigawatts so he can get back to the future. Roy, here we go.
Much of anything. Now, this cap that I have in my hand comes in at 1/2 of 1 ohm, 0.5. And I wanted to point this one out because this is the only one that NGK offers that is a non-resistor cap. This is it. Every other cap that they sell has a resistor in it. It's sold under the Firepower brand name. And let's see here. There's a part number. If you wanted to chase one of these down, there's the part number. NGK is the gold standard when it comes to spark plugs, so it's nice to use their stuff. But these guys will work beautifully as well. And then, of course, you get to pick cool racing colors in these styles. Okay. All right. So now let's look at this plug cap. This is also a 5,000 ohm cap. And see what we get. We got our eye. It's infinite. This resistor is shot. This cap is junk. Okay, that one's still good. Then we've got, here's another, this is a resistor cap also. And I wanted to use this one because I want to talk about the danger of a resistor cap used along with a resistor plug. You can see we're set at 20,000 ohms on our dial. We've got 5,000 ohms coming out of this cap, which is exactly on point. But let's say you're not paying, you're not paying attention. You put a high-end iridium racing plug, which only comes in resistor. So this has a resistor in it too. And what do we get? And I bet you already know the answer. Let's pull it up here. Now we're at 10,780 ohms. And remember, as this stuff gets hot, that number goes up. This will cause a problem if you end up with two resistors in the circuit. Okay, it's time for our spark plug shootout. And what I want to do here is put the different styles of spark plugs up against each other and see how they fare when it comes to the best bang for your buck, so price, and the least amount of ohms.
Let's stop right here because I want you to see that whole segment about the spark plugs. It gets a little long, so I don't want to cut it off right in the middle. So I figured let me just end it a minute earlier, and we will get back to Roy in just a moment. In the meantime, we have to move on to where the heck am I in this show? Oh, I want to thank Russell Waters for being a supporter of the show since the beginning. All right. You can become an AMSOIL dealer if you get a hold of Russell. He's made a couple of my friends dealers, including Gordon McCaffer. Or if you go to www.theoilpeople.shopamsoil.com, you get 25% off. Not a bad deal, huh? Here, let me put it in bigger print for you because I know print gets so much smaller as we get older. 25% off all AMSOIL products. www.theoilpeople.shopamsoil.com. You buy directly from Russell Waters. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, Russell will be the importer of Castrol R. Does that stuff smell good? That will take you back 50 years. When you smell that pre-mixed with your gasoline, you are going to take you back in 1974. All right? You're going to have those bell bottoms on. You're going to be listening to Boston, More Than a Feeling. You're going to be digging it. All right? Castrol R. Russell's going to have it. One of the favorite segments of the show, and we have it on just about every week. It's the Expansion Chamber with Ted Boyko. This week, Ted is talking about carburetors and boring carburetors, okay? Not boring as in the carburetor's putting you to sleep, but boring as in making the carburetor bigger in order for it to perform better. And I think there are some myths about that. Ted and I were talking about it. So let's get down to Ted Boyko and the Expansion Chamber. Ted. Back in the studio with me this week is Ted Boyko. Ted, how you doing?
Doing great.
Good. Thanks for joining me again this week on the Expansion Chamber. And I've got a question, actually. It's regarding a taper bore carburetor. Okay.
All right.
My question is actually, if somebody has a 34 millimeter carburetor, why don't they just go to a 36? Why do you bore a carburetor? What's the purpose of a taper in the bore?
Well, for one, I like to take the OE carburetors that are, for instance, say on an old RM 125 or 250 that we did for Scott Burnworth's bikes. I would rather, instead of taking a VM McCooney or a PWK Keyhen that people try to bolt on these, those are considered aftermarket carburetors. And if you go to bolt them on these bikes, you're going to sit there, change the needle, the slide, everything's completely off, you know.
Okay.
So if you buy this McCooney and bolt them on, which most guys do, they don't run properly. They'll run, but are they right? No, not even close. So what I do is take on Scott's personal bikes that he raced, I take the OE RM carburetors. For instance, if it was there you go.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I would do to Scott's. So I would bore the carburetor all the way through from one end to the other on the lathe with a tool.
Yeah.
Take a millimeter or sometimes more, depending on how much material's on the spigot side where you clamp it into the manifold. Because if you take too much out of there, you see what I'm talking about on the spigot side?
Yeah, the spigot side for the viewers is on the left. That's where it would go into your manifold. And of course, the bell is on the right, which would go to your air boot.
Yes. So on that spigot side, that's about the thinnest you want to make that spigot, because if you get any thinner than that, it's going to collapse, you know, when you tighten the clamp.
Okay.
So you want the thing, you got to watch how much you're taking out of there. And so what we've done is we've flow tested many of these carburetors over the years to see what works and what doesn't work. And what I've done is take, like on Scott's 125 250, is I'll go in there. I mean, I just did 2 of these on last week for Joe and Jones's kids. So we go and take the stock KTM 65s, or say the stock carburetor on an 85 TC 85. I'll take these carburetors, take them completely apart, and bore out almost a millimeter or more so we can get a bigger diameter out of there. But these carburetors carburate much better taking an OE carburetor and boring that up, because the slide, the needle, and everything works much better than if you took an aftermarket PWK or McCooney and bolted it on. Because you're going to sit there and spend hours and hours jetting to get the thing to carburate properly from bottom to mid. So rather work OE.
So what you're doing is you're taking a carburetor where the bike runs fine. It's going to run at its optimum. You've got it jetted, and you're going to take a millimeter out all the way through. When you do that, how many jets? I mean, you're still going to have a good baseline, but how are you going from there, Ted? Are you going up on the needle seat? Are you going up across the board? Or maybe you just have to drop the needle and put a bigger main? Which is it?
We basically just go in there and leave almost everything the same. Sometimes we change pilot and main, but the needle and the slide and everything works hand in hand. That's why we utilize those OE carburetors. So we're not going in there and changing the slide, cutting the slide, changing the needle. We can go in there and make one main jet change, put the thing on there with a pipe and a ported head or a cylinder, and these things just bark. So, but we've also, you don't ever want to overbore them. We found that if you make them too big, sometimes they don't work, but these work really well. We've put them on, God, I do so many, it's ridiculous. They come in here for, I'm shipping carbs out all the time.
Well, that's my, you know what, Ted, while I'm thinking about it, can a person send you a carburetor? They take out all the jet, they take out everything. They send you the body of the carb and you bore it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We ship them out like that, done up, or they can ship them together as well and let me rebuild them. I've been actually, what they do is they send me the whole carb. I'll buy a rebuild kit, throw in everything brand new in there. And make sure that it's the same jetting, pretty much what was in there. But make sure he's got a new needle, float needle. Everything's got to be brand new. And then I assemble them for them, and then they get them all done up, ready to go. And I adjust them accordingly, air screw as close as I can. And most of the time, these guys get these things and call me and go, wow, this thing works so bitchin'. It's fired right up. Idle's perfect. So I try to get them, you know, as close as I can for these guys. Well, I also been doing them for a long time. So
let me ask you this, Ted. What does if somebody called? I don't even know if Sudco is around anymore. If somebody called anybody and asked for a 34 millimeter Mikuni VM, what's that going to cost them? A new carburetor?
$150.
So what do you charge to bore a carburetor?
Between $150 and $180.
Okay.
Depending on which VM it is or whatever they're sending me. A lot of them are PWKs. You really got to watch it too nowadays. This is really critical. I'm seeing these Chinese knockoffs coming over.
Oh, yeah.
That, I mean, you put them side by side and you go, whoa. But you really got to look close. None of the jets have numbers on them. That's when you really know you got one. You pull them apart, and there's not one number on the pilot, not a number on the main, so you don't know what the hell's in it. You know, so you're basically lost in space.
All right, listen, we're going to get back to the show. You can go to the page tomorrow to hear the rest of the Ted Boyko expansion chambers segment. He'll talk a little bit more about the Chinese knockoff carburetors, as well as some of the modifications that he has done very, very successfully over the years. Okay. But right now we are going to get on with the Did You Know segment. Did You Know segment is brought to us by Jeff Kokoski. And you know what? Look at this. How about that? Did you know?
Way to go, Jeff. I love that.
Now, Jeff is a really bright guy with a wonderful job. And I think he's an engineer, and he's an artist too. Let's call it what it is. Look, you know, I'm just noticing right now the guy up there with the helmet on, he's got a vintage motocross Q&A shirt on.
Oh, he does.
How about that?
How about that?
That's pretty cool. All right, we're going to get on with this, and then wait a minute. Maybe I should. No, we're going to get on with this, and then we'll go back to the Roy video too, and another announcement about the Works for Me, Terry Good, and the International Motocross Museum. Did you know? Brought to you by Jeff Kokoski. Kayaba Suspension. As motocross and off-road motorcycle manufacturers move toward more complex linkage-based rear suspension and inverted forks in the 1980s, the factories began to work more closely with dedicated suspension manufacturers that could provide the engineering resources and production capabilities to meet the rigors of the new suspension systems. Gone were the days where bike companies made the majority of their components in-house. In regard to suspension systems, nowhere was this more evident than in Japan, as both Kayaba and Showa emerged as the suspension suppliers for the four major motorcycle brands coming out of that country. If you rode a Yamaha starting in the 80s, you became familiar with the Kayaba shock and fork. Likewise, during the period Honda gravitated toward the offering of the shower shock. However, if you rode a Kawasaki or Suzuki beginning 40 plus years ago, it became a bit of a crapshoot since each year as to which of the two suspension systems would be installed on your bike. During those early years, Kawi and Suzuki would switch back and forth between Kayaba and Showa, sometimes even using both suppliers on the same model of the same bike, or having a different suspension supplier between the displacement classes. But did you know how these two suspension powerhouses got started? We're going to explore that this week in our next time try this segment. In 1918, Shiro Kayaba was gifted engineering student at the prestigious Waseda University in Tokyo, but within a year he found himself delusioned with the tediousness of the coursework. Instead, he focused more on his own engineering research, especially in the fields of hydraulics. On November 19th, 1919, 106 years ago, with funding from one of the Waseda's benefactors, he left the university and started Kayaba Research Center. With 30 researchers, he was just 21 years old. It wasn't long before the expanding Japanese Navy caught the attention of the Kayaba and its research group. The Navy tried to hire him, but Kayaba preferred to stay with the researchers to chart his own destiny. Then, on September 1st, 1923, the magnitude 8.0 Great Kanto earthquake struck near Tokyo and virtually destroyed the Japanese industrial base, including the Kayaba Research Center, which burned to the ground. Kayaba, well, they found themselves with no choice but to work with the Japanese Navy, where his expertise in hydraulics would lead him to develop remote-controlled hydraulic landing and takeoff equipment on aircraft carriers, as well as hydraulic for aircraft landing gear. And it was to lessen the blow of the landing. We've all been there when we come in for a landing at the airport, and how that feels. Well, now you know. You'll think of Kayaba every time you think about that, huh? Kayaba's landing gear dampener design was so superior and it worked so well, and the word spread quickly. Orders for this suspension system flooded around the globe. By 1935, he was able to break away from doing what he was doing with the Navy and establish Kayaba Manufacturing Company, the precursor to the company we know today. Kayaba would also design aircraft carrier catapult systems and develop a gyrocopter. Here's a picture of that. Gyrocopter. Could take off and land vertically like a helicopter, but also had the engine and propeller used for horizontal flight. It was an idea that was well ahead of its time. After World War II, the company reorganized as part of the Japanese surrender and began to focus on automotive and motorcycle suspension systems, where they would eventually become a global powerhouse. Although we motorcycle enthusiasts know Kayaba primarily as a bike suspension supplier, they were much, much more than that. But did you know that I don't want to read that page again because I've already read it? So where's my third page, Jeff? Picture Q7, did you know? Picture 2. Oh, I guess that's it. The Kayaba was much, much more than that. And I think Jeff's got a little, oh no, here it is, here it is, here it is. I'm sorry, guys. Here it is. Today, Kayaba produces not only suspension systems, but they manufacture hydraulic component electronics used in construction equipment, agricultural equipment, industrial machinery, aircraft, railroad equipment, and marine equipment. Their annual sales exceed $4.2 billion and have 32 facilities, manufacturing plants in 21 countries throughout the world. In 2015, due to their global presence, they shortened the company name and simply call it KYB. KYB is the world's largest shock manufacturer, and every week they make more than 1 million shock absorbers.
Wow.
Due to their relationship with the global automotive industry, approximately 1 vehicle in 5 produced in the world today contains a KYB suspension system.
Wow.
That is an incredible story, Jeff Kokoski. Welcome back. Thank you for the story. I hope you're doing well. And I'll tell you, I just absolutely love this little placard that we put up here. There's Jeff down at the bottom there, popping a wheelie on the Yamaha. Jeff Kokoski. Always a great segment. And Jeff's done about 80 of these for us so far. And we're looking to kind of maybe put a Facebook group together or somewhere on some page, maybe right here on the Q&A page. We'll do something with all those videos, just one after the other. You'll be able to go and look up any of that information that you want. All right. In the meantime, let's jump back to the Roy video for another 5 minutes or so. See what's going on there. We're getting to the point where he's doing a little shootout with the spark plugs. What do we got, Roy?
Amount of resistance. so you can get that spark to jump across the gap to help make your bike start easily and run well. So let's start with a B80S, the ubiquitous B80S. They're everywhere. It's the most common spark plug in all of dirt biking. And let's see what we get. Get my cheat sheet here. There we go. This is should be a lower number because there's no resistor. So we've got 43.6 ohms. So just make a note of that. 43.6. Then let's try a B9EG. This is a gold core plug. And the way I'm doing this is just by touching the cap, the nut at the top of the plug to the electrode at the bottom. I'm not touching the ground strap or the side case or anything else there. And we're coming in around 8 ohms. It's moving around a little bit. Okay. Keep a note of that. This is a B80V. .4. Low resistance. I want to check that B8EG again because this one usually was coming in just about the same as the EV. So let's give that a second chance. Don't you love it? Electrical stuff just never wants to cooperate. Oh, there we go. 0.5 ohm. So I'm going to change that. That's a 0.5 ohm, which is the exact same as the B8EV. EG and EV come in at 0.4 or 0.5 ohms. I've tested this a bunch of times before and it was always right around 0.5. So then I've got an iridium plug, an EIX. I don't happen to have a B8R EIX, but I do have a CR, which is something for one of my street bikes, or you could run that in your XR80. Well, we got to go up because this is a resistor plug. And here we've got 5,790 ohms. So that can have an effect on your electrical system. Now, next I'm going to talk about these power core spark plugs, but let's do that. I'll be right back for that. And we're back. And I want to talk a little bit about these Polestar plasma core spark plugs. These came onto the scene about 10 years ago, hard and fast, in the motorcycle industry. And they came out slinging big promises like size matters, plasma core, that it fires with 5 million watts of power, which all sounds very impressive. And I went out, I gave them a try. And I learned 2 things. I learned the first half 10 years ago, and I'm learning the second half right now. But I ran into problems running these plugs. I used them in my YZ125, which is a pretty modern bike, and one of my street bikes, which calls for just standard non-resistor plugs. So I know, and many people know, the lingo for NGK. You know, if you see a BR, anything that's got an R in it, BR8HS like that, that R indicates that it's a resistor. The language on these wasn't quite so clear. And like a lot of people, it's like, wow, this is cool. And I just threw them in. I got out on my YZ125 and found out that it worked okay at first, but then as the bike got hot, I developed a high RPM misfire. So now let's look at the ohms that this plug is putting out. We're at just short of 10,000 ohms. There's the problem right there. My modern-ish YZ125 certainly has a 5,000 ohm resistor cap. Combined with the 10,000 ohms of resistance in this plug, it was squeezing the spark out, and that's why it developed a high RPM misfire. So I went out and did, I think I may have done 3 or 4 laps, came back, said, this ain't working, and took that plug out, put it right back here in the box, and then put them back on my shelf about 10 years ago, saying I'll get back to those later. I also used them in my street bike, which it would start fine, but when it got hot, it developed a habit of stalling out at intersections, and then it would not restart. Well, now that I know that that's got 10,000 ohms of resistance, it's pretty clear where the problem came from, because with the street bike, I put standard plugs back in it. It runs like a champ, and it has run like a champ ever since. So, and before I conclude with all this fun stuff about plugs, caps, and resistors, and then here we even talked about a one-off brand that kind of never got going. I don't want to say it's a bad spark plug, but it was bad for this application because the resistance is so high. So if I wanted to run those in my street bike, those caps, unlike these caps like this and the factory caps, you can take them apart. And what we've got, I'm going to start at the spark plug. We've got the plug. This is the receptacle for the plug. Then there's a little spring. There's the resistor right there. And then there's another spring. So if I were to remove the resistor and replace it with a thick piece of copper wire that's the same length as the resistor, put it all back together, I would then have a non-resistor cap.
All right. Really great stuff from Roy Vanderveer. There's 4 minutes left in Roy's video, and we are going to have it for you in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, I have to get over to Susie, and she's going to tell us about tonight's viewer appreciation winner. Susie.
Oh, hi.
Okay.
We have, Greg Garrison.
Greg Garrison?
Yeah. He
What-
gets this crazy, good-looking bell helmet hat. Look at that. How cool that is.
Yeah, it is.
Like a cross between a,
I think that's kind of one of those hats they used to put over a Speedway helmet.
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I know
Yeah.
Roger DeCosta used to wear a hat like that.
Yeah.
And
Pretty cool.
I think it was actually Scott Hydrake who made the hat popular.
Oh, well, there you go, Greg.
Greg Garrison, get us your mailing address.
Yeah.
You will get a Bell hat, compliments of Russell Waters and Amsoil. Thanks for watching the show tonight.
Yeah.
All right. In the meantime, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to hear from our sponsor, International Motocross Museum. We'll be back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A in just a moment.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
Next week's show will feature Terry Good in the Works For Me segment and a bike from the International Motocross Museum. International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Be sure to visit them online at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. Anything you purchase from the International Motocross Museum or donate is 100% tax deductible. Now, as I just mentioned, we have a Works For Me segment with Terry Good. Terry comes in and he joins us, and we talk about, sometimes we talk about parts. We've had segments on the show where we talked about some interesting carburetors, hubs, swing arms, and in the past month, we had a really good segment on a Lido, Monarch, and everybody was talking about the Mugen 125 that Terry bought new back in 1980. What's coming up next? We're either going to do this, the 1972 RH250 of Joe Abbate, 6-time world champion, or we may do the OW 125 of Bob Hannon, the 1976 bike. All right, I think that's an OW 27. One or the other. We're going to have him on next week. Okay, be here with Terry Good. Where am I now? I want to thank Mark Farriester and Sunrise Vapor Blasting for being a supporter and sponsor of the show. If it floats, flies, or rolls, get a hold of Mark Farriester and Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Fast turnaround time and always a reasonable price. Thank you. Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast, big supporter of the show. He went for a $49.95 package, got himself a shirt, an apron, a poster, and Roy, Ben's, great guy. All right. We are going to have announcements for you in just a minute, but that won't be until I do This Week in Motocross History. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X. Be sure to visit them online at racerx.com. At Angel Stadium in 1976, Anaheim, they were putting the finishing touches on the King Kong Jump, a moto masterpiece of scaffolding and dirt that might have been the single biggest jump ever built in AMA Supercross history. Cycle News' reporter Joey Weisel broke it all down for the special preview on the first official AMA Supercross at Anaheim, which would take place on December 4th, 1976. But Anaheim held an American Motocross Championship the year before that, won by Suzuki's Tony DeStefano. But the race was only a one-off, not part of the series. Interesting story on the jump. Interesting story on Jody, a young reporter back there, and that happens. Well, that would be that'd be an anniversary tomorrow. 49 years. Wow. 49 years. What else we got going on here? 1972. Oh, no, I'm sorry. What's going on here? No, it was 1972. Aki Janssen dominated through the 1972 Trans Am Series. It finally came to an end, and it was Johnson's 9th consecutive win. The big news that day also was Kawasaki's Brad Lackey. He finished the series as a top American, and given the points added from the Trans Am Series to the new AMA National Series, Lackey is the new AMA 500cc national champion. His main sponsor, Kawasaki, gives him an unprecedented $5,000. All right. Happy birthday, Danny Laporte. 1956. Danny Laporte was born. And before I read a little bit more on Danny, I want to do this. I wasn't going to do it because it distorts the history of our great sport. All right, that was a little video that I made using AI technology, and it showed Heikki Mikkola, what's supposed to be Heikki Mikkola, spraying Danny with champagne the day he won the 250 championship. But anyway, 1956, Danny Laporte is born. He's an AMA Motorcycle Hall of Famer who rose to prominence as a motocrosser in Southern California in the mid-'70s, becoming 1979 AMA National Champion while riding for Team Suzuki. He then joined up with his Honda teammate Donnie Hansen, Johnny O'Mara, and Chuck Sun as Team USA shocked the world in 1981 with an FIM Motocross and Trophy the Nations win. 1 year later, he became the FIM 250cc world champion while riding a factory Yamaha, and he did it his first time out, and he defeated the great George Jobay. Pretty impressive. And now, with the announcements, the incomparable, the irrepressible, Sil Body. Sil?
Thanks, Joe.
You are welcome.
The announcements are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. Visit them on Facebook or at International motocrossmuseum.org. The Mid-Atlantic Region Dinner and Awards Banquet happens on January 10th at Wyndham Gardens in York, Pennsylvania, which Joey and I will be attending.
We will be there.
That's the night before the York Swap Meet. Your guest speaker this year is Tommy Croft. Contact Dave Kutzkel at dkutzkel, that's DKUTSKEL@yahoo.com. As mentioned, the New York Swap Meet happens on Sunday, January 11th, 2026 from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Reserve your space as soon as possible. They go fast. Most are already sold out. Contact Mike Slate or Bill Nazarod. The 12th annual Moto States happens in Waldorf, Florida on February 20th and 21st. There are many different classes for all types of motorcycles and ATVs. There is also a bike show. Beginning March 28th all the way through October 18th, 2026, the MOVMX will be happening. Go to www.movmx.com. That's it for the announcements. Joe, back to you.
You got it, Susie. Yeah, and that MOV, the Missouri Vintage Motocross guys, they put on a hell of an event out there that happens from March through October. You don't want to miss it. Susie, I'm going to run the remainder of the Roy video for now. And we gave away all the prizes.
I did, and I'm going to go finish dinner.
You're going to go finish dinner. I'm going to finish the Roy video, and then I will wrap up the show. Great job tonight, honey.
Thank you. Good night.
I'll see you when I get home. Okay?
Good night, everybody.
We'll see you then. Here's more of the Roy video. Somewhere. There it is.
And on the spark plug or on the street bike plugs and caps, it really matters because those caps are about that long. And I can't just squeak something like this in there. So there's a lot of food for thought. And the bottom line is, if you're having a hard time getting your bike to consistently and reliably start up with a good kick, it's time to break this stuff down and see where you're at and see if there's any places that you can salvage some ohms to claim them back. Whether it's getting rid of the resistor plug or getting rid of the resistor cap or getting rid of both. And if it doesn't cause any other problems and it works, I never argue with what works. So there you have it. Get your own meter out and check this stuff out. And a quick closing note on that ever so popular B80S spark plug. If this plug matters to you, you may have found out that you can't get them anymore. NGK has it's changed the game up, and they're really only marketing the resistor version of this plug, which of course will cost you ohms. And if you're riding one of these older bikes, that might matter to you. So here's the pro tip. Honda still imports this spark plug, and here's the part number right here. So if this spark plug matters to you and you've been told you can't get it, at least at the time of me shooting this video, you still can get it, but you got to get it from a Honda dealer. In all the excitement of this spark plug expose, I kind of forgot to wrap up the spark plug shootout because we talked about how many ohms each plug produced, but I forgot to mention the value factor as far as which spark plug gives you the best bang for the buck. So since our goal for most of the applications that us vintage riders would be using would be, we want the lowest amount of ohms possible. And to get that, if we look at the B80S, this plug came in at right around 50 ohms, and it cost $4.73 at the time of shooting this video. We look at the B8EG, this is 1/2 of 1 ohm. And these come in at right around $7 a piece. And I'm going to cut to the chase. this one wins the shootout. Then we get the BAEV, also an outstanding spark plug, coming in at 1/2 of 1 ohm, but these cost about $25 a piece. So value-wise, you cannot beat the EG. And then if we look at the Iridium EIX plugs, which only come with a resistor, this one's 5,800 ohms. So right there, it's not a good candidate for the bikes that we would be riding. And it comes in at $11.61. So at about $12 a plug. So really, when you look at how close the price is between the B80S coming in at 51 ohms and the BAEG coming in at 1/2 of 1 ohm, for our purposes, in this video, on this day, the B80G is the clear winner. So there you have it. Till next time.
There you have it. Thank you, Roy Vanderveer. That was an absolutely excellent segment on the spark plugs. I had no idea some spark plugs were $25. All right. That wraps it up for this week's. Oh, I got one other thing I wanted to say. Yeah, I want to thank our sponsors. And if you want to become a sponsor of the show, you can do that for just $250 a month. And think about that for the new year, or you want to work something out. You've got a budget, but you've got something in mind. You want to be on the show. You want to help support it. Give me a call. We'll figure something out. We'll figure something out. Okay. In the meantime, congratulations to our winners tonight. Pete Hansen, stop calling me when the show is on. I'm doing a show. I'm working. I can't answer the phone now. All right. Hang on. I'll get him. Gina! Come on, Poochie. Come on. Come on. Yeah. That's because you keep eating all the leftovers. That's why you can't make it up here. You smell good too. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching the show. I am going to post the Roy video in its entirety and the Ted Boyko video on the boring of carburetors. Okay. We'll see you next week on Vintage Motocross Q&A.